Previously on the Shrek series review. Man, Shrek 2 is such a great movie. After you see it, you'll go back to the first one and say,
Shrek? Such a gay movie.
And now, Shrek gets surgery.
Remove all of Shrek's injuries fast, or else...
Don't make this ogre angry! Frog in the throat.
So much to do, so much to see, so what's wrong with taking the back streets?
So, after two well-received and very financially successful films, DreamWorks put a third Shrek into production. But before we jump into the film itself, I'd like to take note of a decision that was made before the film's release that really set the bar for what it was trying to achieve. When Shrek the Third's release date was pushed from December 2006 to May 2007, DreamWorks CEO Jeffrey Katzenberg said, "The sheer magnitude of the Shrek franchise has led us to conclude that a May release date, with a DVD release around the holiday season, will enable us to best maximize performance and increase profitability, thereby generating enhanced asset value and better returns for our shareholders." Basically, DreamWorks moved the date because they wanted to earn as much money as possible, which I understand is what every business tries to achieve, but earning money seemed to be this film's only goal. Shrek the Third is a very safe and basic movie. I don't think it's an awful one, but it manages to be a step down from the previous films in almost every way possible. The biggest issue I have with this film has to be the humor. This movie is not funny. Most of the jokes miss their mark and overstay their welcome, but honestly, it's a little astonishing to me what this movie considers to be funny.
If you think this whole mad scene ain't dope, I feel you, dude. I mean, I'm not trying to get up in your grill or raise your roof or whatever, but what I am screaming is, yo, check out this kazing baby. I mean, if it doesn't groove or what I'm saying ain't straight tripping, just say, oh, no you didn't.
I can count on my fingers the jokes that I enjoyed, and even so, the hardest I laughed was the music that played during this scene.
This is all indeed a bit unorthodox. Only shooting stars break the mold.
Even things that were funny in the previous films, like Donkey and the fairy tale characters, didn't even manage to get a smile out of me. What's even worse is that the voice cast does a pretty decent job on material that is just predictable and unfunny, with the exception of Justin Timberlake. He voices the ear-grating and unfunny new character Arthur, the heir to the throne who Shrek, Donkey, and Puss in Boots set out to find because the king croaked and Shrek doesn't want to be king because he's lazy and can't scratch his ass in public anymore. Complex and interesting character development and motivation? What's that? The other new characters don't fare well either. We get the series incarnation of Merlin, who isn't funny, as well as a lot of other fairy tale princesses. They have their moments, mostly in the ambush scene that takes place right before the climax, but besides that, they each only have one joke, and that one joke is just repeated over and over again. It really says something when Reggie from Shrek 2 makes more of an impact than the characters your entire plot revolves around. Speaking of the plot, at its center is Prince Charming. Now in Shrek 2, he was the fairy godmother's son, and she tried to get Fiona to marry Charming in order for him to get his happily ever after. He had some funny moments, but was overshadowed by just about everyone else in the film. So why did the writers think that it was a good idea for Prince Charming to be the main antagonist? Not only is he not very funny, but he doesn't pose much of a threat. Like, even when he's about to kill Shrek, the ogre still lays down a ton of sick burns.
Well, it can't be any more painful than the lousy performance you're giving.
I understand that Prince Charming is probably not supposed to be taken seriously, but when he kind of comes close to ruining Shrek's life, the movie still treats him like a punching bag, as illustrated by the previous clip. It would have been better for the movie to have introduced a whole new threat, or at least a bigger villain for Charming to bounce off of. But no, instead we get a guy whose army is defeated by his speech about following your dreams that was given by Justin Timberlake's character. Amidst the main storylines, there's another that focuses on Shrek accepting the fact that he will be a father. Not much is actually done with this plot. Heck, I don't even think it comes to much of a conclusion. But it's still there, and I think it's only included so they were able to sell some baby ogre merchandise. Then again, selling merchandise and making money was one of the big goals for this film, as seen by the near hundreds of products this movie advertised. Believe it or not, this film still has a few good qualities. The animation has improved even more, although that's to be expected at this point. The pop culture references and adult humor have been reduced significantly, although they are extremely on the nose when they do appear. There's a pretty weird baby dream sequence at one point. That was well animated and kind of funny, but you can find that on YouTube if you wanted, and I guess I like the cover of Thank You, Puss and Donkey sing over the credits. One thing that actually surprised me when I saw it was the scene where Shrek and Arthur reconcile after it turns out that being a king isn't as glamorous as Shrek first made it out to be. Yup. This is also kind of a liar reveal storyline, and there's another misunderstanding between the characters after this too. Anyway, when Shrek talks to Arthur about accepting the world, it really shows that Shrek's character has grown since the first film. It's a nice touch, but not enough to save this movie. Shrek the Third, or Shrek the Turd as I will now refer to it, is a very obvious cash grab. Everything is lacking the wit and creativity that made the first film so good, and it feels like everyone, except the animators, put little effort into their work. None of the characters are really interesting, the plot is just basic, and oh yeah, it wasn't funny!
You know, you're getting on my last nerve.
It's not infuriating or a disgrace to the previous films, but just boring as tar. And despite all the negatives I have with Shrek the Turd, I liked it when I first saw it. Yeah, I know I was just very young and had no sense of quality, but I've even owned it for years. I didn't just get the DVD. I got the HD DVD. Does anyone remember that format? It was like the Laserdisc or Betamax to Blu-ray, and it failed due to the discs being more expensive and having less titles. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, Shrek the Turd. I liked it when I was younger, but now I think that when you get a chance to see it,
This is the part where you run away.
So originally the footage I had for this movie was in widescreen and cropped in a really terrible way, and I had to go in and manually edit all of it to make it look not crappy. I could have spent that time being productive and doing something with my life, but instead this movie just made my life harder. That's just another positive that Shrek the Turd brings to the table.